21, page 165. If your king sent me presents, I also am a king, and this is my land. 8 days I will stay to receive them. Your father, Captain Newport, is to come to me, not I to him. Yet to your fort, neither will I bite at such a bait. Now remember on the board I wrote down that learn about a power struggle. Okay. Here we get into that power struggle. Who do you think the power struggle will be between? And well, or more, yeah, Captain Newport and King James. Very good. It's a power struggle for who is actually in charge of this tribe, right? It is morning when I see Wahhasanakak, the great Powhatan, for the first time. He is tall and imposing, strong and regal. He wears a necklace of large pieces of copper and many strings of beads. If copper and beads are the Powhatan gold and jewels, then he must truly be wealthy. Captain Smith delivers his message. Will the great chief come to Jamestown to receive his gifts from King James? I see immediately that Captain Smith was right. An emperor should not be invited to come to another town to receive gifts. Chief Powhatan's eyes flash with anger. Your king has sent me presents, he demands. I am also king, and this is my land. And he displays his arms and his fingers to show that all of the land is his. I will wait here 8 days to receive the gifts. Captain Newport is to come to me, not I to him. On the hike back to Jamestown, Captain Smith stomps with anger into the wood path. They know nothing, he shouts. Those Virginia Company investors sit in their velvet chairs and dream up what they want to accomplish here. They know nothing of the reality of what is here, and they're going to get us all killed. They are idiots. I keep my eyes on the ground, and the soldiers do the same. None of us want to say a word to Captain Smith when he is this angry. Who ever heard of making an emperor into a prince? He continues. Yet that is exactly what they are trying to do. He kicks a fallen branch out of his way. No good will come of this. Mark my words. No good at all. Back in Jamestown, Captain Smith delivers Chief Powhatan's message. Captain Newport frowns, but he is still determined to obey the orders from the Virginia Company. Chief Powhatan must be crowned prince under King James. Captain Newport says he will travel to Werowocomoco to accomplish this task. Though the trip is only 12 miles across land, it is a much longer trip by boat. Top of page 167. Powhatan's gift: an English bed, furniture, a copper pot, a wash basin, and a pitcher, a red cloak, shoes, and that troublesome crown are loaded onto a barge for a 100-mile trip down the James River. Or the Powhatan River, depending on who you're talking to. Into the Chesapeake Bay and up the Pamunkey River to Werowocomoco. Can you imagine seeing that? As a native, like never seen any English things before, seeing all of this stuff in a boat going down a river, wouldn't that just be like aliens coming to town or something? It would be so crazy. Captain Newport and his men return from the coronation a week later. Captain Smith doesn't even ask them how it all went because he is still fuming. Fuming means extremely what? Yeah. The soldiers who were there tell us a story. So, Chief Powhatan was asked to kneel to receive his crown. How do you think that went over, guys? Oh. He pretended not to understand. Captain Newport demonstrated the kneeling over and again until he looked like a marionette on strings and people began to snicker. You know what a marionette is? Those puppets that you hold in your hand? Yeah, and then you move their legs and their arms and it's just like kind of creepy looking to me, but Still, Chief Powhatan acted as if he didn't understand. He absolutely would not kneel. Captain Smith nods smugly when he hears this. He understood perfectly, he says, and he refused to lower himself. Finally, Captain Newport ordered 2 soldiers to push down hard on Chief Powhatan's shoulders. And this made the chief take one quick trooping step. And in that moment, they placed the crown on his head. And then they shot off a round of musket fire to celebrate. Chief Powhatan was now officially a subject of the King of England. He is happy with his new position, Captain Newport says. He gave me this mantle as a gift in return. But another soldier filled us in on the rest. He gave the mantle. It is a beauty, because he really liked the bed and the wash basin, copper pot and whatnot. But do you know what else he gave Captain Newport? A pair of worn out, sweaty, smelly old moccasins. I'll bet he's spit in them too. That's what he thinks of that crown. Let me tell you, Chief Powhatan is a proud emperor. He does not want to be prince under King James. Especially not after he heard from Namatok that King James is a short, flabby, weak man with no teeth and the strongest body odor in London. I have a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. It has been a big mistake. This mistake we cannot undo. What will happen now? I asked Captain Smith. Trouble, he says, his anger smoldering. Trouble that we will have to bear while the fools who gave these orders sit in their comfortable homes in London and while Captain Newport sails safely back to England. The first thing we get is not trouble, but a wedding. Anne has permission to marry, and she has said yes to John Leyden. I am convinced that she made a good choice. One night when it rained so hard that all of our cabins were flooding, John Leyden was outside, Master and Mistress Forrest's cabin, where Anne lives, digging a trench instead of trying to save his own cabin from a flood. I believe he will be a good husband to her. What would a trench do?
It'll hold the water up there.
Very good, you guys. Super smart. We gather in the chapel. Anne in her burgundy Sunday petticoat. Now remember what a petticoat is? A long, pretty dress. What was the thing on the head?
A bonnet.
And the coif. Yeah, the coif. So she's got a long, pretty petticoat, like a long, fancy, kind of like a coat dress. And then let's see how he looks. Let's see what John dressed up. And John in his just washed shirt and blue doublet. And I'm not sure, but I think the T might be silent. So what's a doublet? Does anyone know?
Is it like
It's a really fluffy jacket that you put on.
Beautiful. It's a nice, fluffy, tight-fitting, formal, very formal jacket that the gentleman wore back then. So he's got the clean shirt underneath. And then what color doublet?
blue.
Or doublet. I'll have to confirm that pronunciation. I think that second syllable is a softer enunciation, though. Reverend Hunt performs the service, and we all have a good meal afterward, with several chickens sacrificed for the celebration. The trees surround us all with their fall leaves and blazes of red and orange and yellow, as if they too are celebrating the first English wedding in the New World. Now, would trees really celebrate?
No.
Does anyone remember what we call that?
Conversation.
Very good, because we gave it a people-like quality, right? Trees don't really celebrate, but they're so beautiful, they look like they're festive and they're part of this. Reverend Hunt is in good spirits for the wedding, but he has been feeling poorly on and off for months now. It is as if the summer sickness never left him. He has headaches and fevers that sometimes send him to bed. A few days after the wedding, Reverend Hunt takes to his bed again. Richard takes good care of him, but I also check on him to see if he needs water or food or other comfort. I wonder where he is. I wonder if there is something, some food or some herb or medicine that I can bring him that will heal him this time the way the eggs and meat and wine healed him before. One day, When I check on him, he asks me for some water. His hand shakes, and he takes the goblet from me. He drinks, and then he looks me in the eye. Samuel, you will not always be a servant, he says. You will do something far greater than that. I'm surprised by this sudden announcement. I shake my head. I'm an orphan, the son of dead peasants. Of course I'll always be a servant. What else would I be, I wonder? You must learn from what you see around you. Learn from Captain Smith. President Smith, do you know why he is well liked as a president, while President Wingfield and President Ratcliffe were not? I know the answer because I've already thought about it. Well, it is because Captain Smith cares about all of us. The other leaders cared only for their own comfort and their own gain and for the gain of a few of their friends. Reverend Hunt nods. Good. You are already learning. This is important for you to remember, because I will not always be here to remind you. He lies back down and closes his eyes. But if I will not always be a servant, what will I be? Could I become a soldier or even an officer like Captain Smith? Reverend Hunt smiles with his eyes closed. You will see. Remember what we have talked about here, and remember that you will always know the right decision, because it is when you choose from love. He looks as if he has talked enough. I take a rag, wring it out in a bowl of cool water, and lay it on his forehead. He is so pale and seems so weak. It is the worst I have seen him. My chest feels heavy with sadness. Reverend Hunt was the first person I opened my heart to after it was closed up tight when my mom died. I can't stand to see life slipping away from him like this. I wonder if I might lay my hands on his head and pray and keep his soul from leaving his body, the way he did for me those months ago. But I realize if God is ready to take Reverend Hunt up to heaven, it is not my business to try to stop him. Would you like some supper? I ask Reverend Hunt. He shakes his head slightly. I touch his hand and I leave him to rest. Reverend Hunt does not leave his bed again. Richard and I keep a vigil, one or the other of us checking on him each hour. And finally, he stops asking for food or water and wants only to lie still. I know that is my last chance to speak to him, so I go in the evening, I light a candle, and I kneel by his bed. Reverend Hunt, I whisper. He opens his eyes for a moment and nods, and I know he is listening. Well, what do I want to say? Don't leave. Please stay. Pray for another miracle. I shake my head to stop these thoughts. He is leaving, I tell myself firmly. You can't stop it. Reverend Hunt, thank you for teaching me, I say. I force myself to talk past the lump in my throat. Thank you for treating me like I was worth something. And the day we bury Reverend Hunt is a rainy and cold one. My feet sink into the mud at the gravesite. Richard stands with me, both of us silent. They shoot off the cannons in Reverend Hunt's honor. A great man has gone to his reward in heaven.